Hey, you. Thank you for joining me for episode number 141 of Better Regulate Than Never. We are winding down the school year here in Kansas, and actually, most of my clients are, and they're all over the United States. But I know some schools go till June, and if you're in another country, I don't know for sure when maybe you have year round school. I don't know. Sometimes I'm fascinated with what do other countries do about school because I don't know a lot about it. But here, we're getting ready to have summer break, which is so exciting. Even though I'm not even working in school anymore, I still get super excited about summer break. So I hope you're getting excited too. My clients are telling me so far what their summer plans are. Some of them have summers where I don't even think they can breathe the entire summer. They have so many camps and vacations and fun, whatever. And then I have other clients that are telling me I am going to rest and have fun with my friends and I'm going to play video games. And so, whatever your summer is like, I hope it's what you want it to be and that you're just ready to enjoy whatever comes your way. I know I'm excited about that too. If you've listened to my other previous episodes, or at least some of them, one of them in August, probably, I'm almost sure it was in August, was a back to school episode, and we talked about imagining what is it going to be like in May 2023. And oh my gosh, we're in May 2023. And in that time, we talked about imagine you've just had the best school year of your life. And what were you feeling and what were you thinking? And then taking those thoughts that you're thinking in this future May 2023 and using those thoughts intentionally all year long to create the school year that you want to have. Because we can create anything that we want to create by thinking about it and intentionally planning and going forward with those thoughts that get us there, that fuel that feeling of excitement or being proud or whatever it is. So I hope that you practiced that and you are just finishing up the most amazing school year you ever had. I know, even though this isn't the end of my year, because now that I'm in the business world or whatever, December will be the end of my year, but this year is already going. I have a better revenue. I have more things going on this year than I did all of last year. So that's telling me that I am going forward and my intentional plans and thoughts that I've put forward are starting to happen. And it's so exciting. So I have mentioned several times before about the YouMap certification class that I'm in. And this week, on Thursday, I'll be finished. And I'm so excited because that means I'm going to be ready to start doing UMAPs I'm going to start with the clients I already have, and then it will be opened up to whoever wants to have a YouMap assessment and have me go through that with you. So for the next 4 weeks on the podcast, I'm going to be telling you about the 4 pillars that are assessed in the YouMap assessment so that you kind of have an idea of what you'll learn when you do take the YouMap assessment and then what I will do to help you with it and kind of the experience I've had with each pillar. So today is just sort of an overview and then also about the first pillar that I want to teach you about. What I am really enjoying about my YouMap class is that we get a study buddy. So it's another person in the class that's going through it too. And so we practice everything on that person using their YouMap. And so my study buddy sees my YouMap and I see hers. And we just debrief each other, talk to each other about what we're seeing in it and asking questions and stuff. And I am learning so much about myself now that I didn't know before. And it's so interesting because I have been a take every quiz and assessment, even the really silly ones, my whole life. But I think what's different about this is that when we take assessments like that, and you can even do the YouMap all by yourself, just pay the money through the company and get the assessment and get a report about yourself, which is what I've always done with almost every assessment I've ever taken. And then, you get the report, you read, it's like, oh, that's fun or that's interesting or whatever. And then you just move on with your life. But the whole part about being coached through it, because you you get things asked of you or things are reflected to you that you're like, oh my gosh. I even noticed in one of the classes recently, I was talking to my study buddy about my strengths, values, skills, whatever section we were on. And I mean, as I was saying things out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that before. And that's so crazy to me because it came out of my head. But sometimes when you're saying things, you're hearing it and really like understanding it and becoming aware of it for the first time. And so that's the greatest thing about coaching, even if it's not about YouMap, just because anything that can reflect back to you and ask questions and kind of get you to really dig into things is going to help you grow. But this is like your coach gets a blueprint about you and then helps you figure it out and work through it. It's just so fun. My teacher in this class said this, and I thought this was such a great analogy. I know that all of you can think about it. She says, you can't read the label when you are inside the jar. And so, we are the person, we are encompassing these strengths and skills and preferred traits and all of this. And we don't know sometimes how other people are perceiving it, or we don't really even know what that label says because we're living it and we're like too close to it almost. And so you're going to learn through the YouMap assessment, like you're going to find out things, but then me or whoever you decide to work with can walk you through and talk you through the stuff and ask questions that's going to give you such a different way of experiencing yourself, which I just think is fascinating. Did you know that self-awareness is the biggest predictor of success? And I feel like that's what this whole podcast is about, is you becoming aware of so many things about yourself so that when you can use those things to be successful in your life. But I think that it is the biggest predictor. So let's give everyone great self-awareness so everyone can be as successful as they can be. YouMap will certainly give you that self-awareness. It assesses 4 different things: strengths, values, preferred skills, and personality. And it creates a profile that is based on the combination of those things specifically for you. And then as the coach, I will walk you through each of those pillars and help you to see what your label says on the outside of your jar. And we're going to talk about how you like to work, why you choose to do the work that you do. And it doesn't mean necessarily just a job, but it could be like, how do you work as a student? Or how do you work as a child of your parent? Or how do you work as the best friend of your friend? Or how do you work in a romantic relationship? So it's not just like vocational work, but like how you do things. So how you do them, why you do them, what you enjoy about what you're doing, and who you are. All of those things are put together. And this assessment works for any age. And I have a client, I think that's 11. So her assessment will look a little different than my older high school and adult clients, but it's all done the same way. It's just that hers is maybe worded a little bit different because the adult version, of course, you kind of have to be fairly familiar with what a lot of words mean. And so I think with the younger version, the words are just more user-friendly for that age group. And there's less strengths to go through with the younger one, but everyone will get the same type of profile and the same type of coaching for their profile. I think the summer is the perfect time to do this because people are, you can be using the summertime to plan for your high school, plan for college, plan for your summer job and beyond. For my adult clients, just planning on what's the next step in my work or in my journey or in my relationship, whatever it is. So this will also give you a lot of like skill words to use to explain yourself. So if you're going on a job interview, they always ask the question, tell us about yourself or tell us about your strengths. They might ask about weaknesses too. And YouMap doesn't talk to you about what's not going right. It's talking to you about what is right. But you can still get a lot of vocabulary and words from YouMap that you can use in your job searches, in everything that you want to use YouMap for. Right now I'm using this information thinking about how do I want to coach people based on my strengths and the values that I have, and who are my ideal clients. Maybe who I thought I wanted to work with isn't who I really want to work with. Now, so far that hasn't really changed very much, but it is something that I'm going to really look at. Like, now that I know this information, this self-awareness, how will it help me be more successful in what I'm doing? So today we're going to talk about strengths, because that's the first pillar that we work on. And like I said, I want to tell you what you're going to get out of the YouMap so that you will be more interested in wanting to do it. And the strengths are things that come naturally to us. They are things that we are born with. So it doesn't mean that if you don't have a strength, that you couldn't try to use it more or try to develop it, but it's mostly those things that you're born with, and they don't really change that much. They might reorder themselves, like you might use certain strengths more in this part of your life than this part of your life, but I am finding as I go through this that it's very similar to how these assessments have always come out about me, but it's just a really fun combination that I never saw before. So I think that's fun. My teacher in the class talks about how the strengths are like the spices in a spice cabinet. And maybe, I don't know, if you're not somebody who cooks, this maybe won't make that much sense to you. And I don't hardly cook at all anymore because my husband does all the cooking. But I think about, when I used to enjoy cooking and I had to use recipes. I didn't just like throw things together. I've never been good at that. But so certain recipes would call for different kinds of spices, and sometimes you would use a combination of spices to make something. Sometimes you would just use one spice, but you would never use one spice in every single recipe, no matter what one you were doing. And the strengths are like that. You use the strengths at different times depending on what you're doing, and the strengths blend together and sort of affect each other in a way. Just like if you blended spices together, some blendings of spices are amazing. Some, you have to kind of step back and try to figure out what's going on there. But I loved that analogy. I think that that's another one that hopefully you can kind of understand. Even if you're not someone who cooks, you understand that different spices go into recipes, and some combinations are amazing and some are not. And this isn't really part of YouMap, but I just thought of this, that, some people love a certain dish and they're like, oh my gosh, you have to try this. And the next person's like, I don't know, I don't really like that or whatever. And I'm a pretty picky eater, so I totally get I don't think that's so great. And that's the way we are with people. Some people we click with and we just love being around them, and other people we're like, I don't want to see that person very often. So it's kind of just showing how those things can fit together, or we might have too much of one spice or another. Once you know what your strengths are and you find ways to use them every day, you're going to be a much more engaged student at school, because you're going to be looking for how you can use your strengths in all the school situations. Or you're going to be more engaged in your relationships, because you're going to be more aware of what your strengths are and what you bring to your relationships, whether they're romantic relationships, friendships, or coworker relationships. Because if you know what your strengths are, maybe you can partner up. If someone else finds out what their strengths are, you can figure out, oh, you're good at that and I'm good at this, and so I'm going to try to take care of more of these tasks, and maybe you could partner with me and do the other part. And then you have this whole project or product that's so amazing. The YouMap uses your top 5 strengths, and there are 34 in the adult version. And like I said, with the kid version, I think they only use 10. And it's just because It's a lot of information. And for younger people, it's just easier to not have all of that information at once. But only 1 in 33 million people would have the same top 5 strengths. And I love that because I've been telling you on here for forever that you are creating this unique journey and you're this unique person, this masterpiece in this world that's different from everyone else. And you bring something to this world that no one else can bring to the world. I bring something to this world that no one else could bring to this world. And it's all these things that I'm talking about mixed together. And it's also our experiences that we've had in life and our age. And I mean, there's just like so many things that play a part in what we're bringing to the world. But you were born with the talents and ideas and the strengths to do this journey. And I think the journey of our life is to find out what these are and start using them. And the younger you are when you find these things out, the more you can really build on them and create something. I'm just finding this out now and I'm going to do a ton of stuff with it. But what could I have done if I knew this 40 years ago? Oh my gosh. I could have created so many more things. I didn't even believe that I could. So that I probably, people are probably going to get tired of me talking about it, but I am just so excited about what this can mean for you, for me, for just anyone who gets involved in this. It's going to be like a game changer for people because this is the toolkit for you to live your life. And I can see parents really wanting their kids to do this because most parents feel like, well, my child doesn't know what they want to do. They aren't taking things seriously, or they're just wandering around, not knowing what to do. Well, this would help them. I mean, there's still work that each person has to do on their own. Like, I can give all the information in the world, and if someone's like, who cares? I don't want to do anything with it. They don't have to. And we see adults and people in the world all the time that don't use their gifts and talents because they don't want to, or they don't know how, or they don't even know what they are. And so there's definitely work that the individual person has to do, but maybe it just needs to be unlocked. And that's what the YouMap assessment and what I could do to help with that. The strengths are also broken down into 4 even smaller categories, which are relationship building strengths, which are how we build connections with other people. Influencing strengths, which are how we move others to action. Executing strengths, which is how we push others and ourselves to get results. And the thinking strengths, which are how do we analyze the world. I have 3 strengths in the relationship building and 2 in the thinking. So the 3 in the relationship building totally makes sense. That's why I am a coach. That's why I was a school counselor. That's why I was an educator, a teacher. I taught Sunday school to adults for 20 plus years. I love teaching and I love helping. I wanted to be a nurse. I probably told that story on another podcast, but so that's in the helping profession as well. I just don't like emergency situations. And so this, I can help people, and it's not physically life or death. It might be life or death emotionally, but that seems totally different to me than if it was, sorry, I'm going to try to move this. This is driving me crazy. I think I told you, like I had that microphone issue that one day, and so I got a new one. And it literally takes months to get it doesn't make, it seems stupid, but to get it where it doesn't like get in your mouth or move around and hit your face. I hate it. So I'm still working on trying to get it the way I want it. And then the 2 in the thinking totally makes sense too, because I've always said that I could be a full-time student if it paid. And I can't wait until I'm 60 when I can go audit classes at the university where I live, because I'm totally going to take classes. I love learning. I am always reading to learn. I'm listening to learn, like podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. I just like to consume information. I probably should look at my Google search history just for one day, how many things I look up to know something. Like, whoa, well, what year did that come out? Or when did this happen? Or where did the meaning of that word come from? I mean, I'm just like, crazy about it. And so, but that again helps me. I research for my podcast episodes. I'm always looking for ways that my clients can get a better experience, or I can teach them another thing. And so I'm always just like looking for things for them to do. And I'm, creating programs. I was doing that when I was a school counselor. I was creating lessons and presentations and programs and book studies for my colleagues. And I'm going to do 2 workshops in person this summer. If you, by the way, this is kind of like a side note, and I'll put some information on my social media and stuff, but this summer, starting in June, if you live near Topeka or in Topeka, I'm doing 2 in-person groups. One group is called Searching for Sunday, and I'm going to use the book Searching for Sunday, Rachel Held Evans. But I think a lot of people have maybe been traumatized by church, but they still want to be connected to God, but they don't even know how to because they have all these conflicting feelings about it. And I've been there, and the Searching for Sunday book really helped me, but I want to help people be able to search for their spirituality in the way that they want to and the way that feels good to them. And I have no agenda. I'm not a church. I'm not a church leader. I'm just a person who wants to help people come to terms with their spirituality. So I have that group going on. And then I'm going to do a group for young people that's on the Worry Workshop. I know I talked about that a little bit because I was doing that earlier in the spring. But we're going to really dive deep into, the fears that we have surrounding the things we really want to do, and how do we overcome those fears to get to the point where we actually do the thing. So this one's called From Fear to Freedom. And so I have clients that are afraid of getting their driver's license, but they really want it, but they're afraid of it. Or they really want to talk to that crush they have, but they're too afraid to approach them because of rejection or embarrassment or whatever. Or they want to try a new class or try to learn a new instrument or something, but they're just so intimidated by that new process. And so that group is going to be going on as well in person, where people can find out about these different mindsets that they might have that are getting in the way, and then how to break through and find new ways to do that. And they'll actually come up with a plan to do the things that they want to do. So those are 2 things. If you happen to be in my area, if you want to come to those. And like I said, I'll put some stuff in social media, but because my podcast goes all over the place, most people aren't able to attend it because they're not close enough. So I don't really spend a lot of time on my podcast or other places really talking about it, but just FYI, in case maybe you come to Topeka to stay with a family over the summer, you can come to my group. So what I found interesting in my strengths, I have these 3 relationship building strengths and 2 thinking, is I don't have any, at least in my top 5, I don't have any influencing or executing. Now, executing are like number 6 and maybe a couple in the 6 to 10. Executing is like, I have a goal and I'm going to do it. I have a plan for what I want to do for the day and I do it. Now, I'm really good at that. Or even creating a program and then executing it by having it actually work with people. I don't like that as much because I love the idea part. I love the creation part. And then I just want someone to figure out how to make it work. But as a solopreneur, I have to figure out how to make it work. So that's kind of sometimes where I stumble around in this business owning stuff. And then influencing is the selling. Ugh, I really don't like trying to sell people on anything. I'm like, hey, this is amazing. You should totally do it. I'm offering all the things. I'm here all the time, whatever. And I'm not a hard sell person. And so some people maybe need a hard sell. And since I'm not that person, I'm not going to get those people. I also thought about this. This isn't about a strength, but it's something I found out in the YouMap, and I'll probably talk about it again when we get to skills, but I do not have very many skills in the managing people realm. And my kids could attest to that as a parent. I don't want to manage anybody. I just want you to do what you're supposed to do. And then, I'm sad if you don't, but I want you to. So, that might make it easy because I wasn't like yelling at them all the time or getting on them all the time. But then I probably could have been better in that. And classroom management as a teacher and a school counselor, forget about it. I just want kids to do what they're supposed to do in the classroom. I don't want to tell them what to do. I don't get on people about, hey, put that away or sit down or be quiet or whatever. I don't like any of that. So it was probably freeing for a lot of kids that there wasn't a lot of that kind of business going on. But there was a lot of distractions that went on in the class because I wasn't telling people not to do stuff. And then other kids would get upset because they were like, why don't you tell that kid to be quiet? Or why don't you tell that kid to leave or whatever? And I didn't want to. So, that was where I used to think there was something wrong with me. Like, I'm not a good teacher because I'm not good at this and I see these other people being good at it. But that's just because they had maybe a strength of managing people. Well, that's not a strength, but they were skilled at managing people and I'm not skilled at that. And it doesn't matter that I'm not skilled at that because I am skilled at loving people. And I think I wish people would actually contact me, but if you ever worked with me, but I think as a school counselor, there wouldn't be one kid in this world that didn't know that I loved them or didn't feel my love for them. And to me, that is better than anything else. And I think that about my kids. I used to say, well, I don't discipline them that much, but I love them like crazy. And some people don't agree with that philosophy, but I'm like, what's worse than loving somebody to like crazy, loving them unconditionally no matter what? Like that is beautiful. And that's where my strengths come in. So anyway, I always talk so much on these things and I really am trying. I hope that it's concise enough that you're not like, what in the heck? What I love about YouMap is that it shows you what is right with you. Because like I just said, comparing myself to other teachers, and I just kept thinking, I don't think I should be in this profession. I'm not like anyone else. And if I would have known this stuff and I would know that the way I was doing it was the right way for me and that those were the things that were right with me, I think I would have embraced so many things that I didn't because I kept trying to change. And then I would just feel so defeated and frustrated because I kept trying to be who I saw them being instead of just being who I should be. And I see kids doing that all the time. Like, I just want to be like these other people because those are the strengths and talents I want to have. But what if you took the ones you do have and made them, used them and found ways to use them that are different and helpful, where instead of beating yourself up because you don't have certain ones? There was a part, and I'm totally doing this with all my clients, even though I don't think this was written down as what we do with our clients, but there was the Gallup poll industry company or whatever that does the strengths portion of this. This has been around for a long, long time. And so they have done strengths finder assessments on millions of people. And they just took and ranked the 34th strengths in frequency. So, the first one is the most frequent all the way to 34, which is the least frequent. And what I found out is that 6 out of my top 10 strengths are in the last 2 categories. And that's why I was feeling so weird, because I have these strengths down here and I'm looking around and I don't see them anywhere with other people that I'm working with. And I think, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. But really, I just had these strengths and they had these other strengths. So what? And if I could have talked that over with somebody, I just think I would have made so many different decisions. Not about what I do, because sometimes I don't know how I got into school counseling, like really think about the whole steps of everything. It was just the perfect job for me. And being a coach is the perfect job for me. And I think sometimes it's almost like I fell into it, but really it was just my strengths, building on my strengths. And as I used them more and more, I felt good about them. And then I was able to make my life work around what those strengths were. And you can do that too. And you could do it a lot faster because you're going to know about it a lot sooner than I did. I am so glad to be able to bring YouMap to you. This is just, I've said this before, but this is going to change what I do in my coaching business. And so I have put a link to a YouMap waitlist because I'm kind of still about a month out before I'm going to start actually taking on new people to do it with. I need to do it with my clients just to kind of really get a good feel for how it works, and then also figure out exactly how I want to offer it, because I mean, I can offer it along with my regular package, but I feel like this might be something that could be a one-off thing that I do just for people who want to do YouMap and don't really want to do some of the other things. So I'm thinking all that out, but I think it's just going to be so fun. So next week, we're going to talk about the second pillar of YouMap, which is values. So I can't wait to talk to you soon.